today's episode of the Rookies Podcast, we have Erik Bradford, assistant captain of the Brampton Beast Hockey Club, and Anthony Fusco, media coordinator and play-by-play broadcaster for the Beast. And they're going to share their perspectives on the game of hockey during COVID, their roles and routines as player and broadcaster, and some of their favorite moments from their time on the team. So welcome, guys, to the Rookies Podcast. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll get right into it. So I first want to start off by taking us back to when COVID first hit and the season was canceled. So what was going through your guys' mind at that moment?
I don't think really anyone fully understood the severity of it at first. You know, when it finally hit and the basketball guy got it, it all happened really fast. Like the NBA shut down, and then the NHL sort of followed, and then it was all in a matter of one night. So I think there was just that initial shock that, is this really happening? And, you know, where do we go from here? And then a week later or so, our season was canceled, and it was just kind of shocked that, you know, things had turned out the way they were. Obviously they made the right decision, you know, and keeping everyone safe and trying to figure out the best way to do that. But I think it was just a big shock that, you know, this came and how severe it actually was.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what Erik said too. At the time that it got shut down, we had about 10 games left. So I figured we were going to be off for maybe 1 or 2 weeks, forego the rest of the regular season, and then just jump into playoffs. But clearly I was very, very wrong about that. So I think it kind of got real for me the night that the NBA shut down, because I knew then probably the NHL and hockey and all that are coming up next. And then, you know, we all know what happened after that. So, yeah, it was quick, and I think we made the right call, but definitely a tough situation.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's just crazy to think, because back then you would have never guessed that it would obviously still be going on into, you know, the following season too. So, you know, fast forward to right now, and, you know, there's still no hockey. So what does your guys' typical day look like right now?
Mine's pretty easy. I sort of get up, I'll take the dog for a run, and then I got a puppy during quarantine, so he's about 8 months now, so he's been keeping me busy. Then I'll go work out, and I haven't really been skating too much. I started skating probably 2 weeks ago, about 3-4 times a week. So after my workouts, I'll skate, and then besides that, I've been doing some reading, some video games. Not too much excitement here on my end. It's kind of weird, you know. Usually you're playing at this time of year. You're sort of designed right from junior hockey. I played in the OHL. It's sort of been the same schedule for the last 8 years of my life or so. So it's sort of been weird with, you know, you sort of almost become accustomed to, you know, these certain things and playing hockey, and when you don't have that in your life, it's kind of it's weird, and you almost don't know what to do with yourself.
And then, yeah, on my side, it's a little bit different too. Just I still work 9 to 5, but obviously I haven't been to the arena since I guess late March or whenever the season got canceled. So still go 9 to 5. I may not be doing the play-by-play, but I'm still in charge of the media relations, so community efforts, any kind of PR that we're doing, new player signings, any kind of things like that. And I'm still part of the marketing team, so we're trying to keep the team relevant when there's no team on the ice. So it's a little bit different, obviously, kind of working through on Zoom and Google Hangouts every day, but you just get used to it by this point.
Yeah, for sure. So when the season was first canceled, last season, you know, till now, is there any difference in your daily routine? Were you even able to work out before or go to the gym, or, you know, when you said you only started skating 2 weeks ago, how has your daily routine kind of changed since it originally got canceled till now?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of changed up my training regimen. I actually had reconstructive ACL surgery the season before this last one, so I sort of rushed back trying to get back and play. So I wasn't able to do the full rehab that I probably needed, and allowed my leg enough time to get the strength back on my quad, that, you know, from the atrophy and stuff like that. So I actually had a buddy that came into contact with the guy that he went to McGill with, and we were able to train out of his house outdoors. and do a lot of movement work and stuff like that, which allowed me to sort of get back earlier. Like I had a normal summer of training. I just wanted to be ready for whatever came. And obviously, come September, nothing had really changed in the world. So, I was able to take sort of a month off there in September and sort of just relax again, and then sort of start amping up in October and now into November, and hopefully gear up for, a time when we can hopefully get back and play.
For sure, yeah. Like, it's crazy, like, working out, like thinking that, the new season is going to come, and then it comes, and then it doesn't end up, happening too. It's crazy. So have you gotten like a chance in that in between period, or even now, to even hang out with like some of your teammates? Like how has like the pandemic kind of like affected your relationship with like in terms of like team bonding?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge. You don't really, especially with our team, it looked like we were going to get a lot of guys back. And then, we've all obviously with guys retiring and because of this pandemic and stuff like that, we have a very new team. So, in the sense of that, it's tough because, we're from all over the place, and you don't necessarily get to have that same contact with the guys that you'd usually have. Brendan Miller, he's from Orangeville with me, so I'm with him almost every day. So he's a guy that, we grew up together and stuff like that. Went to public school together and have been friends ever since we were like 5 years old. So, I get to see him every day, and we talk about the team and stuff like that. But I think there was one time this summer we went to Jordan Henry's for his little retirement party. I got to see, Val, Pax there, a couple guys that had played on the Beast from years before, like Mike Folks and Paul Gianfrini. So other than that, I haven't really got to see too many teammates. We're just sort of, you kind of staying local and staying with the buddies that that you see all the time, and you can sort of trust where they've been and stuff like that to keep you and your family safe.
For sure, for sure. And then Anthony, I'm sure for you too, it's a lot different. Do you get to see any of the guys that work at the stadium and stuff like that?
No, you know what? I haven't been back to the arena since March, so it's kind of been tough that way because, especially with this kind of job, I'm with the guys on the road all the time, so that becomes a kind of family there. And then with everybody in the office, that becomes its own separate family. And you're with those people more than your actual family a lot of the time. So you develop really close relationships and friendships with them. And it's kind of difficult to do that and continue to do that over Zoom and Google Hangouts and everything. But in order to keep myself safe and them safe and try to limit the spread of COVID, you got to do what you got to do at this point. But yeah, it's definitely been a change, and I'm waiting for the day when I can go back into the office and see everybody normally.
Yeah, for sure. I find it so different too. Like when, you're going into work every day, you kind of lack those conversations you normally would. Even when you are like, working virtually, it's like you kind of got to like schedule the call, and then, just to even have like a conversation, and it does, you don't go through the effort you would just to have some small talk, around the office or around the arena, right? So it's tough. But yeah, Erik, you mentioned that like a lot of guys are retiring and leaving because of this whole situation. So what's that like? And is there, has there been like a change in leadership, and how do you go about that being, the assistant captain and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's been sort of crazy how it turned out. When you think of it from those guys' perspectives, they played their last game and they didn't even have a clue that it was going to be their last game. It's sort of crazy, the way things have turned out here with this pandemic. It's sad, really. You want guys to go out on their own terms, and I guess in a way, they're making the decision, but they're sort of getting forced out in a way, not knowing when the seasons are, having families to support, and having to make a choice based on your family and not so much your want to retire or will to play hockey again. As for the leadership, obviously we lost a lot of our older guys and lost a lot of leadership, but we with guys playing underneath those guys for a couple of years, we have plenty of leaders there coming back, and I'm sure that it allows guys to step up and take a bigger role. And keep the train rolling sort of thing. That's what good organizations do. You watch the San Antonio Spurs or the frickin' Tampa Bay Lightning. When you guys lose guys every year. You just sort of keep the train rolling with your core group of guys that have that leadership, and it allows for your team to be successful every single year. And that's what we're hoping to do. I think we've set a foundation here that we're going to have a playoff team every year. And once you get into the playoffs, you don't really know what can happen. So I think on the leadership standpoint, I think we're going to be fine. I think we have a lot of guys that, are looking forward to the expanded leadership role, and, hopefully they can take it and run with it.
So are you guys practicing it all together right now? Are you guys, when you do skate, are you skating together, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't been – usually before the season we get some ice at the CAA Center, and all the local guys kind of get a chance to skate together before our training camps. But there's been none of that this year. I think they're filming the Battle of the Blades or something at the rink too. So I've just sort of been skating with all my local buddies. In Orangeville, we sort of have a group of guys our age that all grew up together. A couple – the Ritchie brothers are in Boston, the NHL. We had a guy, Ben Thompson, that played a couple NHL games. He was up and down between Bridgeport and Worcester. We got Miller. So, there's a lot of OHL guys, too, as well, coming up from our town. So, we have some pretty competitive skates. It's nice to get out with your buddies because, with this extra time, it's really afforded us to spend more time together, which we don't usually get because we're all going to separate teams and all over the country and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. So what are some things you do mentally, to stay motivated? Back in March, you said you had the home set up and you're trying to work out as much as you can with what you got. So there's a lot of excuses, not to work out or not to stay as active as you usually do. So what are some kind of things you do mentally in order to, stay on yourself?
Yeah, I think that's the toughest thing for everyone. The mental aspect of it, the financial aspect of it plays a toll on you mentally. How am I going to make money? What if this season gets canceled? This and that. I think you just sort of have to have that, faith in that things are going to work out for you. You work hard and do the right things, and hopefully, down the road it allows us to come back and play. I've been, doing a lot of reading. I've been reading Kobe Bryant books. I was a big Kobe Bryant guy, so it's sort of been neat to read his books now, especially that he's gone. You sort of, feel like you read he's truly in these books and stuff like that. So I think that's sort of helped a bit with my mental toughness. Taking breaks mentally is huge. Like I said, I took that month off in September. Once I realized that the season wasn't going to be starting until, January, December, I figured it was best to take a month, get away from it, and then come back fresh. And that way, when you're back working out, you don't cheat yourself. You don't take days off because you're fresh mentally, and you don't get that all like, oh man, why am I working out today? I don't have to play for 2 months. Your buddies are asking you to go have some beers or something like that. I think that's a big part of hockey and longevity in the sport is, you see it with all these young kids, in AAA growing up. Their parents push hockey on them 24, 12 months a year, and 24/7. And, by the time they get to junior and get a little adversity, they're done playing hockey. They don't want to do it anymore. They've had enough. So it's really important to sort of let your mind frickin' get a break from this stuff. And it's so hard on us mentally. We have so many expectations for ourselves, and I think truly you need those breaks to sort of keep fresh and, keep that love of the game going. You see a lot of people that get to professional hockey and they're doing it because it's the only thing they know and it's the only thing they do. They don't even love the game anymore. So I'm one of those guys that truly really loves the game, but I also know that, little breaks here and there from strenuous training and stuff like that's probably best for you.
Absolutely. I'm sure you do too, but I definitely also know, some of those guys that have gone through, that tremendous amount of pressure, and which ultimately, leads them away from the sport, which is just too bad. You see a lot of talent that, they just don't have the motivation to build on it. So yeah, definitely mental. Like so much of the game is mental, right? So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So we talked a lot about some of the negatives that have happened because of this crisis. But do you see that there's any opportunities or positive outcomes that will result because of this hiatus?
Well, I mean, for me, the biggest thing was like it sort of afforded me more time that I didn't have to rehab my leg, my knee. Last year there's, to put it frank, I basically played on one leg. If you saw my leg and, and my spandex and stuff, you'd be like, holy smokes, the one leg's, way bigger. So I just didn't have that power in my stride the way I did, previous to the injury. And, then it comes up, you're dealing with hip issues and stuff like that because everything's overcompensating for that leg. So it really was a blessing in disguise for me to sort of get back to doing some single-legged stuff. I'm doing hops now and single-legged jumps that like I couldn't even do at all. And I was playing professional hockey. When I think back to it, it's quite remarkable that I was even able to get through the season, which I got through not being able to do the things that are so normal for professional hockey players. And so I think that's the biggest positive for me hockey wise. I always try to look at the positives in situations like this. It's afforded me more time to hang out with some friends that I never get the chance to hang out with too much, because we're getting older now. They're working full time, and then I'm always gone in the hockey season, right? The only time I ever really get to see some of my friends is if they come watch a game and you talk to them for 20 minutes after, right? So it's one of those things that I haven't really taken it for granted at all. Knowing how important, friendships are and stuff like that to me, and family time as well. It's a positive that you can take out. We've all sort of, even though we've been quarantined and stuff like that, you get to spend a little bit more time with people that are most important to you, the people that have helped you get to this level, and, to show them that, you still care about them and you have that appreciation. I think that's huge.
Yeah, definitely. And how about you, Anthony? Are you taking advantage of this time? I'm sure you're usually busy this time of year. Are you taking advantage and spending it with people you don't normally spend time with?
Yeah, no, actually something that Brady just said kind of struck a nerve, which is that, a lot of the time, and, Eric and I understand it because we're on the road all the time. So you're missing a lot of things. Like over the last few years with the team, I've missed countless like birthday parties or family events or time with my friends, and just, it's tough. So one thing that has been nice is being home. You actually get that time to spend time with my family. Like my mom was so happy at the beginning of this whole thing because suddenly everyone's home for dinner, and that hasn't happened in a long, long time in our household, especially with me, even before hockey, working in different sports and being gone half the time. But sometimes just kind of slowing down, and that whole thing has been really nice. You get to spend time with family. I get to spend extra time with my girlfriend, which is really nice because you're gone half the time, so you miss a lot of things that way. So, there is a silver lining to this whole thing, and I've tried to take advantage of it as much as I can.
Sorry, Tristan, I just want to jump in here quickly. Eric, could you maybe just kind of walk us through your injury, what exactly happened? And then I know, Anthony, you were there for that away game when that happened, so maybe get your perspective on what you saw on the ice as well.
Yeah, it was actually pretty crazy. I broke my femur in the OHL, if you can believe that. So, I've had two sort of major surgeries in my life, and this knee injury was probably the toughest for me mentally, especially it coming at a time where I felt I was playing so well for us, and obviously everyone at our level is trying to get to the next level, and it sort of seemed like things were starting to fall into place for me under Colin Chalk there, and it was definitely tough that way. So I had 2 goals in the first period too, and I was playing really well, and it was just a freak accident. A guy on our team actually hit a wheeling player, and he fell onto the side outside of my knee, and my MCL and ACL just gave out. And I sort of knew right away that something was wrong with my knee. We got a doctor to look at it, and there was just so much swelling that you couldn't really tell. And so they thought it was just my MCL for the longest time. And I started rehabbing that and stuff like that. And they told me at first it would be 4 to 6 weeks, and 4 weeks came along and I wasn't even skating. And I was like, something's wrong here. Like this isn't, just my MCL or something. And eventually they sort of got me an MRI and realized that my ACL was completely done. I went and saw a surgeon the next day, and he looked at it and said, "Yep, I'll get you in for surgery." And I was sort of just stunned. That was literally the conversation. And he went to start walking out of the room, and I was like, "Whoa, wait here, buddy! Like, what do you mean? Like everyone told me that I wouldn't need surgery, that I'd be back playing that year, and now all of a sudden I'm, going to be done for the season." And he just sort of explained it to me. He said, "There's no real way if you want to play a long time that you can go on with your ACL being gone and playing hockey." So it was sort of a tough time for me mentally, rehabbing and stuff, being away from the guys. Especially we had a good team that year too, and we lose in 6 games to Newfoundland, and 3 were in OT, and they go on, and I think they lost 2 or 3 games the rest of the playoffs. And I'm sitting here being like, I was one of our top players, and I wasn't able to help the team. Like, that would have made a difference. We were missing our captain, Brandon. He would have made a difference. And then Nathan Todd got hurt early on in that season. He would have made a difference. And it's like, if we didn't have those injuries, it might have been us that could have won the championship that year. And it sort of eats at you all summer and stuff like that. So that knee injury was tough on me mentally. It was a lot of long days that summer, rehabbing in the pool and stuff like that. And whether or not you're coming back, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that summer as well. And, it just seemed like the hits kept coming for me, and it was tough to remain positive and see a light at the end of the tunnel. But, thankfully the hard work sort of paid off, and I was able to play in November against Cincinnati at home. And, it was just the best feeling. It was one of the, my most memorable hockey moments, coming back from that injury and just being able to play.
So what does it look like now? Would you say you're 100% fully recovered?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, you're never going to be 100%, when you get reconstructive surgery on a ligament, right? It's not a true ACL. They took a tendon from a piece of my patellar tendon. I still have my bad days, but I took my dog for a run probably an hour before I was, on this call here, and that's something I wasn't even doing last summer. Once my knee was starting to get better and stuff. I'm starting to get back to normal life and get some strength back. It's it's just you adapt to your reality, right? It's this is a part of me now, and this is what I have to deal with. And if I want to accomplish my hockey goals, I have to find innovative ways to continue to get better, continue to improve my game. And if you look at it that way, I think you're a lot better off, rather than what I can't do and looking at it from a negative standpoint.
Definitely. Anthony, sorry, did I interrupt you? You were going to say something?
No, not at all. I was just going to say it's interesting to hear that kind of perspective, because I was there, so I was calling the game and remembering, Erik had scored a couple of goals in the first. I'm like, he's rolling, he looks great, team's playing well. And I remember the injury, and obviously I'm way up and looking down on the ice, so I'm not at ice level. I can't tell you what's really happening down there, but I kind of remember the hit, and then the player falling, and Brady being helped off the ice. I'm like, okay, maybe it's just a Charlie horse or something. You just try to think positively, like, he'll go into the intermission, maybe you get some work done, maybe you come back out, and then he didn't. And then, you go down to the coach's room after, and you see all the guys, because you're about to get on the bus with them, and you kind of start to put it together, like, okay, this might be a little bit more serious than it looked like up there. And what he said about Newfoundland too was really true, that, you're missing Bradford, one of the top players. You're missing Marino, an excellent player, or captain. Nathan Todd got hurt maybe on his second or third shift in game 1 against Newfoundland, so his shoulder got hurt, and suddenly you're down 3 really, really productive, really great players. And, we still took them to overtime 3 times there, and all the way to game 6. And, it kind of does eat away at you. Like, if you had those guys, I think we gave them the toughest test that they faced on the way to the Kelly Cup. So if we had all three and everybody was firing at 100%, maybe it's not them winning it, maybe it's us. So it's just one of those things that you just may never know. But definitely having Erik and Brandon and Nathan all back would have been great.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of opportunity since we're not playing, and you're not in contact with your players to just focus on yourself maybe in like the basics. I know there's like this old saying, you work too much time working in your business and not a lot of time working, or not enough time working on your business. So is this an opportunity? I mean, aside from the injury, you mentioned the injury, but just to work on your fundamentals such as speed and strength rather than technical aspects, and focusing on your next opponent every given week?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like even, it's 2 summers in a row now, right, that I've had long layoffs from hockey. So, the summer before, it sort of prepared me, for something like this. Whether it's teammates texting me, trying to find out what's going on and keeping them positive. I have it a lot, being in contact with Brendan Miller. There's some times where, stuff seems gloomy for him, and able to just sort of keep him positive and bank off my experiences with being away from the game. Because a lot of guys have never suffered a major injury and been away from the game like this. Especially last summer, it allowed me to just be genuinely grateful for being able to play this game. And you really take things for granted. I've had it twice now in my life where I haven't been able to walk. There's something there that's just so normal for us that, we wake up every morning and we just expect to walk, and not everyone has that luxury. And, it sort of changed my perspective on things. It allowed me to, be happy for other people's success, which I think made me a much more mature person, much better leader for our team last year, is genuinely being happy for a teammate when they accomplish their goals or they get to move up. And I think there's just too much selfishness in the world with, the competitiveness of everything, whether it's sports, the work world and stuff. I think we don't take a lot of time to, just be grateful for what we have, be grateful for others, succeeding and being able to accomplish their goals. And I think, this long layoff has really allowed me to learn these vital lessons to make me a better person, a more likable person, and, a better leader for our team once we get back.
For sure. And then how about you, Anthony? Like, I know, when you're going in the season, it's week to week and you're focusing on the next week and who the opponent is and everything like that. Does this give you a chance to kind of like work on what you do rather than, working in the season?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's you kind of got a little bit of a chance to step back, which the last few seasons, I really haven't been able to do too much, because if you're not in season, you're preparing for the next season. And there was never really that kind of pause in between to just take a step back and kind of figure everything else out. So it's nice. I've done a lot of things. Like I've had a laundry list of things that I've been wanting to do that I just haven't really had the chance to. And now with an extended layoff, it's, well, okay, I suddenly have time that I never had before. So yeah, it's just trying to work on those things and work on myself and just try to remain positive through the entire thing. But it's just one of those silver linings. I got a lot more time that I didn't have before, and I'm trying to put it to the best, like the most full advantage that I can right now.
So you guys mentioned the rivalry, or the other Canadian team with Newfoundland. So I want to get you guys to kind of touch on, to put in perspective for anyone else listening, how much bigger of a game, not even just the playoffs, but just the rivalry and the story kind of behind that. I know Olivia was telling me about a game where the whole bench just cleared, and so maybe kind of touch on that game and just like a history behind the whole rivalry.
Well, I think the whole part of it is we're both really good teams. I think in sport, you can't really have a rivalry if one team's winning all the time or way better than the other team. I think that, since they came in the league, we would have both made the playoffs this year. I think that, the fact that we're competitive against each other, every single game, I think really allows for that tension to build. Obviously we play them like 12 freaking times, and then we end up playing them, in the playoffs for a 6-game series. So I think it's just impossible when you got competitive guys playing at, a very high level for it not to turn into a rivalry, for tensions to boil down. And, obviously, we want to beat them every time we play them, especially with them having a lot of guys associated with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think there's a lot of guys on our team that, don't necessarily get the respect that those guys get around the league just because of the attention that the Leafs ECHL team draws. And I think that really motivates guys to play well against them.
Yeah, no, Erik said it best. It's two really good teams, and you can't have a rivalry if it's just one-sided. So we've taken our licks from them. They've taken licks from us. It's, there's the intensity. There's a lot of maybe even a little bit of hate there. And it makes for really, really good hockey because of the fact that, like Erik said, we played them in their first season probably 12 or 13 times. Then you have the playoffs, and you got another 6. 3 of those were in overtime. And if you're not sick of seeing that team by then, you're never going to be. And it even goes further than that. Their broadcaster used to be our broadcaster, somebody that I learned under, and I want to be better than him every single game. And we're comparing each other that way. And I think it's a really good, healthy rivalry. And just I don't know. I still think that we gave them, on their way to their Kelly Cup win, I think we were the toughest team that they came up against. And I truly do believe that if we had everybody healthy, it might be a different story there. But there's a lot of intensity, a lot of passion, and it definitely makes for great hockey.
So this game that Olivia was telling me about where the bench is clear, is that like a regular occurrence, or is that a one-time thing? Or
I mean, I think that one was pretty bad. But we had another one, an incident in warm-ups one game, involving a couple of guys at home. So I guess you could say it's sort of a, regular occurrence, but, stuff like that only happens so much. But there's definitely been a couple incidents where it's been turned out pretty heated, and you wouldn't have it any other way, really.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I guess this transitions into, what the future is going to look like for the ECHL. I know, there's some teams that want to play and some teams that, can't play. And with the border, it's becoming, kind of difficult. So what does the future look like for the ECHL and in particular for the Brampton Beasts, and what's kind of your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think you just got to look at it from an optimistic standpoint again. League's taking steps here to outline a plan to return to play. I think that's the first thing. Obviously, us in Newfoundland, the borders are our only hurdle right now, and you got to sort of have some blind faith that things will work out and allow us to, play without the quarantine coming back. But I think the league really is taking steps to enable us to succeed in the future as a league. And starting with the stagger start, it allows guys to get back and get working, get some money and stuff like that, which is huge for the players. So, obviously I'm optimistic, and, you have your days where, you get a little pessimistic, but, I really hope things work out. I truly believe that they will work out for us. But it's sort of a wait and see game. It can get frustrating at times. It seems like we're having the same issues right now in November that we were having in June. So it seems like there hasn't been a lot of progress on, this pandemic, and it's sort of frustrating from that perspective. But there's only so much you can do. You just got to control what you control and try to be ready for when the season comes. And if it doesn't come, then you got to deal with it from there.
Yeah, I'd say that I'm in the same boat too. That obviously I want everybody to be able to play because, that's the name of the game, is getting these guys back on the ice and trying to get as normal a game day as possible. I think I'm in the same kind of boat that Erik is, trying to be optimistic with everything. Obviously, there are days that are a little bit tougher than others, when you see the cases are high in Ontario or something like that, or when you hear borders still being closed for another 28 days. I want everything back. I want it back so that everybody, whether that's players, fans, staff, anybody is safe, obviously, but trying to remain optimistic that we get to play. And I really, really hope that we have some good news soon, because I truthfully don't really know what I'd do with myself if there isn't a hockey season. And I'd have to remain optimistic and positive that everything is going to be dealt with properly and that we're back and playing safely and everyone is having a good time at that point.
Sure. So what do you think is the earliest time that you can, will be able to skate with your teammates or have some sort of training camp? And like, what would a training camp do you think would look like in the future?
I mean, it looks like December. The ECHL announced the dates today. I think they said December 31st for the team starting on January 11th or whatever they have us starting at. So that would be about a 2-week training camp to start skating. Obviously, you hope by the new year that the borders are open, which allow us to play. I mean, it seems sort of crazy that they're still closed. I know they've made progress at certain airports to allow for the rapid testing rate for international flights. I think that's a start. You have to take it as a positive. Hopefully, it gets to a point where, the driving across from the United States and stuff like that is something that they look into, like with the rapid test and make sure that there's a safe and effective way to allow our economies to get back to, working together and opening things up.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are your thoughts on kind of what other leagues are doing, like such as like the OHL not allowing hits? Do you think that, completely changes the game? And would you like to see something like that if that meant you could get back on the ice? Or
Yeah, I mean, that's just speculation from the OHL right now. You hear David Brantz. They know that. I think they understand that it wouldn't work without hitting. Obviously these health ministers and stuff like that are a little bit over cautious and stuff like that. But I'm obviously biased towards hitting and stuff like that. But it ruins the integrity of the game if you don't have it. And you see every year a lot of these top junior prospects come up and play in the NHL the next year. How do you expect a young 18-year-old to go a season without hitting and then ask them to step into an NHL camp with grown men that are, trying to take your head off? You're not prepared for that. And I think the OHL understands that. I think that, they'll make the right decision when it comes. Obviously they're planning in February. I think that allows them, a lot more time to get the Ontario government to sort of back off on that little claim there. But yeah, I don't really see how any way that they would be able to play with no hitting. It just, once you get to a certain level, it's so competitive and stuff. The physicality is always going to be there. Obviously, if that's what you absolutely have to do to get back and play, I'm sure that they'll make a decision then. But I know a lot of players that, personally that play in the OHL that wouldn't even want to play if there was no hitting.
how about you, Anthony? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of understand where Lisa McLeod was coming from with, we have to try to limit the spread somehow, but I don't think that hitting is spreading or is going to be a bigger risk of spreading compared to all the other different things. I mean, you'd still be on a bus with these guys. There's the locker rooms, the even face-offs, they're anything. There's so many different avenues that you could go, and I really don't think that hitting is the key spreader of all these kind of things. But I like what they did too when pushing the start to February. It kind of gives you a few more months to play with, and you can kind of see. Obviously, we're looking at it as here we are November 10th today, but down in February, maybe things are a little bit different. You got some more time to play with, and like with the WHL, like the WHL is going to play just normal starting in January, so hopefully that's something to follow. I know the Q is a little bit different. Obviously, the Quebec teams have been hit kind of hard out there, but the teams in the Maritimes are still playing, and everything appears to be okay there. So I want hitting in the game. I think that it needs to be in the game. And I hope that in February when the OHL starts that the right decision is made. And I believe, just like Erik does, that the right decision will be made, because if you take hitting out, I think that's going to have a really adverse effect on a lot of the prospects and people playing there. So I think the right decision will be made when the time comes.
I mean, at the end of the day, too, like when you think about it, there should never be a kid that's sick, with COVID playing in a hockey game. So, if you do the right things with testing and stuff throughout your team, once you get to the actual game, there should be no one in the game that's sick. So how would contact affect any type of spread throughout the league? If you're doing the proper things, off the ice, you've seen it in the NFL. They've done a pretty good job. Obviously, people are getting sick and stuff like that, but they've been able to play every single game because once the opening kickoff goes, everyone in that game has tested negative for the entire week, and that's just the way that it's going to have to be done for every league coming back. I don't think you really have to ruin the integrity of any of these sports if you do the proper things in between the games to make sure that everyone's, safe and everyone's not sick, right? And I mean, if you, were to do that, you should never ever have to worry about contact and germs spreading throughout a hockey game because no one should have this COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have to agree with that you shouldn't be playing if you don't think it's safe. And if it's safe, then, you don't have to change, the rules or the general aspects of the game. Like I know, and Ann can kind of touch on this too, but I know like at one point the MLB was considering like putting in electronic strike zones and, taking away the umpire contact and eventually they, found a way to carry on the season. And yeah, games had to get canceled, but ultimately, it worked out. So hopefully you guys can get back to playing sooner rather than later. But I just want to transition, and then if Olivia and Ann want to, ask any other questions, but I know they have a bunch of like different fun questions to ask you, but I have a couple easy ones. Who is your favorite hockey player, or who would you want to model your game after?
I mean, once you get older, you realize the tougher it is to sort of compare your games to everyone. You just try and watch the best players and take little parts of their game and implement it into yours. My favorite player growing up was Vinny LeCavalier. He was a big center. I always wanted to be a 6'4" center, and unfortunately it did not turn out to be 6'4". But I really liked him. And then, as I got older, into my early teens, it was, I transitioned to Sidney Crosby. I just love the way he works and competes as a top player. He's got a very simple game, even though he's, extremely talented. So those two would have to be my favorites. Obviously, I've had all three of my cousins have played in the NHL. So growing up watching them, closely with our moms being sisters, spending a lot of time around them, they were obviously, players I looked up to and wanted to be like. And, it was fortunate enough to play for the Ottawa 67s in the OHL, which my cousin actually captained and, I sort of dreamed of playing for. So I thought that was pretty cool. But those would be the players I sort of looked up to growing up.
So during the whole like hiatus, obviously I assume you were watching NHL. What's your kind of next sport or any other sports that you're watching with the time off?
Yeah, I'm a big I like basketball. I like tennis. I really like playing tennis in the summer. So I've been trying to watch the tennis, but I watched the basketball and when they returned to play and stuff like that. I grew up playing hockey and lacrosse, and so lacrosse was my passion. Obviously their season was canceled, so that was kind of tough to see for them as well. So that'd be another sport I'd watch.
How about you, Anthony? Any other sports you've been watching since the time off?
Yeah, I'm massive football fan, an NFL football fan. I love all that stuff to death. I'll pretty much plant myself on my couch and watch an entire Sunday's worth of games. So big football fan, and I don't know, I'll watch basketball just casually. Like, I know what's going on. Do I like fully follow it? No, but I'll keep updated with the Raptors and little things like that. But after hockey, football is where I lie.
Yeah, that's same with me. Like on any given Sunday, everyone knows that I'm just in front of the TV all day. So that's kind of where I'm at too. So
too frustrated with my freaking fantasy team here. It's driving me nuts. I just don't get how these experts, they predict all these things and they're never right.
My fantasy team.
You got to go with your gut.
Oh, I took that Hasty guy last week, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, he's going to go off for San Fran. And he goes off for 2 points, and I lose by 4. The guy got me 6 points. I would have won.
Brutal.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well,
don't you love to hate fantasy sometimes?
Oh, it's too stressful. Like this is the first summer I've actually played it hard, and I'm sitting there and I'm so competitive and I'm just freaking out. I got 4 TVs set up in my living room. And I got all the games of my guys, and I'm just going nuts. It's too stressful. It's too stressful for me. I'm watching Sunday night. I have Kamara. And, because New Orleans is up in the second half big, he's not even on the field. Mm-hmm. And it's like, put the guy in the game, please. He's your best player. Like, run the ball.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like a good stress, but then when you're really competitive or when there's money involved, then it gets almost a bit too much. And then I find that I'm rooting for teams that I normally hate because I want the guys to play. It's funny.
Oh, yeah. It gets me fired up, that's for sure.
We were supposed to get Coach Spiros on. So how has he been in contact with you, and what has that sort of relationship been like during the break?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Obviously, we've talked at different points throughout this entire thing, just sort of keeping contact. Whether it's with recruiting guys and stuff like that. Obviously, players and stuff like that around the league, can be good recruiters for a team. Talking about coaches and stuff like that. Just touching in, seeing if there's any updates and stuff like that. I think he's, optimistic like I am, and I think he's rearing to go. He works really hard as a coach, and I think he's gained a lot of respect from our players this year. That through that effort, through how much he cares about his players. So I think, we're all raring to go and excited to go back and play for him. Obviously, not being able to finish off last year, it felt like we were trending in the right direction, sort of before the stop, and starting to accomplish what we expected to do consistently all last year. So I think he's rearing to get back going here, and hopefully, time will allow us to get back to some normalcy and get back playing for him, because we really do enjoy playing for him.
Awesome. Yeah. So I don't know, Olivia, if you want to give your outro with the whole internship thing. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. So for anyone looking for an internship, you can get in contact with us here at Cosmos and the Beast. You can visit the Cosmos website at cosmosports.com or the bramptonbeast.com. You can also email me directly at osala@cosmosports.com or Michael Hunter at mbhunter@cosmosports.com. And Anthony is also in charge of the internships on the Beast side, and you can reach him at afusco@bramptonbeast.com. So that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much to Erik Bradford and Anthony Fusco for being on today's episode. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to sit with us today. And, good luck with the future season. Hopefully it won't be too much longer here before you guys get started again. But just take care, and thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and stay safe, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me as well.
Awesome.